still considering it very, very carefully. I have a surgical personality, which means you have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's and make sure you have a good infrastructure. We're in the process of doing all those things as we listen very carefully to the people.
Dr. Carson, what's your stance on the renewable fuel standard?
Well, I don't think that we need to dichotomize, when it comes to fuel and energy in this country. We've reached a point where you have one camp that says we can use our fossil fuels, our petroleum. You have another group that says, no, it's got to be green energy. Well, guess what? We have a brain, which means we can multitask. We can do both at the same time.
Dr. Carson, issues like Common Core and immigration may play a role being wedge issues in the Republican primary. Where do you stand on Common Core as well as immigration?
Well, as you know, I'm a profound advocate of good education. So you like to look at where is the evidence pointing. The evidence shows that education that is closest to home, local education, seems to be the most effective education. So I would tend to be much more in favor of education that is controlled at a state level and by local municipalities, and in which the parents have a much greater say about what's happening with their children's education.
Doctor, do you stand by the essay from the Harvard Minority Public Health where you favor national catastrophic health insurance?
Baron, that paper bears about as much resemblance to my current views as our views on Afghanistan did 20 years ago. Things change.
Because of the healthcare law, or what?
Well, because a lot of things have changed since then. That was the main thing that shows you is that this is not something that is new to me. Thinking about healthcare policy and finding better ways for people to have healthcare. But obviously, anybody who's a thinking person who is looking at things as they evolve will also evolve those opinions.
Doctor, if your pro-life position on abortion prevails, what do you think the punishment should be for a physician who performs an abortion or a woman who obtains one? Should it be an administrative fine, incarceration, or the death penalty?
I don't really want to get into that. What I would rather talk about is how do we encourage a culture of life in our society, rather than how we encourage fear and loathing from one side to the other side. That's what we're going to have to do as Americans if we're ever going to solve that kind of issue.
So you don't think abortion should be criminalized then? It should just be moral suasion?
I said what we need to do is concentrate on how do we promote a culture of life. That's what we need to do.
Dr. Carson, who's the front runner in Iowa right now, do you think?
I have no idea. And it really doesn't matter because we're 2 years away from the election. So it doesn't matter who the front runner is right now.
Dr. Carson,
Are you angry? The Supreme Court is considering potentially making gay marriage legal across the country. If you do run, would this be an important issue, and what would you recommend Republicans do about it?
Well, I think people need to stand up for what they believe in, obviously. People need to elect people as their representatives who believe the same way that they believe. That's the way our country was designed, as a representative type government. So anytime the people don't like what's going on, they have to elect the right kind of representatives. Now this is a touchy issue because, as you know, in 32 states, the people by ballot referendum did in fact decide that marriage was between a man and a woman. And a few judges come along and say, you people don't know what you're talking about. We'll change it to whatever we want. That was not the intent of the way that our country was set up. But it is, there is a possibility, if you get the right number of people who believe that way, that you can overturn a judge's orders. But again, the thing that we have to remember is that we are a country that abides by the rule of law. And whatever the law is, we have to uphold it. We cannot pick and choose the laws that we want to uphold based on our personal feelings,
Well, there are unconstitutional laws.
such as,
Well, such as many of the states have found, or at least the federal government has found that many of these states were wrong in their gay marriage bans. Those were found to be unconstitutional. Do you follow laws that are unconstitutional? Or do you disagree with those terminologies? Is equal marriage a civil right?
what you have to remember is that we as citizens have the right and the responsibility to get involved and to advocate for our positions. It means that we have to put our representatives, both in the House and in the Senate, in place who agree with the way that we do things. That is the appropriate way to do things. Civil disobedience is not the appropriate way.
Are you dismayed by members of the Republican establishment who don't want to talk about traditional marriage issues, that want to move on, or say that it's been litigated and it's over?
It's certainly not the way I feel. I don't think it's over. I don't hear any fat ladies singing. I think we have to continue to stand up for what we believe in. Part of the problem, as you know, is political correctness keeps people from discussing issues. And that is the purpose of it, to keep you from engaging in a discussion while you slowly change the fabric of the country in the direction that you want to go in. That's what the progressives have done. And this is one very excellent example of that. And what we have to do is get people to actually stand up for what they believe in. Now, I believe in justice and fairness for everybody. And I don't care what people's sexual orientation is. If two adults want to be together, I'm not going to stop them from being together. If they even want to have a legal contract so they can share property and have visitation rights, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is when people try to force people to act against their beliefs because they say they're discriminating against me. So, you know, they can go right down the street and buy a cake, but no, let's bring a suit against this person because I want them to make my cake, even though they don't believe in it, which is really not all that smart because they might put poison in your cake. So, you know, we really need to get to a place where we're willing everybody to be tolerant. You can't just expect people on the right to be tolerant while people on the left are totally intolerant. We need to get back to a state of fairness, liberty, and justice for all.
Guys, one more
You
question.
spoke about securing the border in your speech. What would that look like? Are you a proponent of building a fence at our southern border?
Would that
include our northern border as well?
We have wonderful technology these days. Drones, all kinds of electronic sensing devices. We could do it if we wanted to. It doesn't necessarily just involve fencing to do it. And you look at some of our great secure areas around the country. You ask yourself, how do they secure those areas? You can use those same kinds of technologies to secure the border. As far as the northern border, again, that's an excellent place to use technology as opposed to a fence. Even on the oceans, you know, we have monitoring capabilities that will allow us. And one of the reasons that it is so important, you know, a lot of people focus on people from Central and South America. I'm much more concerned about ISIS and other terrorist groups who would love to come through our borders any way they can get here and wreak havoc upon our nation. So this is really a matter of national security, and there is some degree of urgency to it.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.